Hey, it's Bill. You're tuned into 3 Questions a Song, episode number 44, where the title tells you exactly what's going to happen. With me tonight is Fang from Lords of the Trident. What's up, Fang?
What is up? How you doing?
I'm doing well. You have your own history of doing live videos, and we'll talk about that a little bit, even though it's not our normal thing here on the show. I was watching the one on the Pi to do the RTMP server.
Yeah.
And I almost went and looked up how much it was going to cost. And I was like, oh, my wife would kill me.
I mean, generally it's not, so for the people who are watching who don't know what we're talking about, at the beginning of lockdown, right, we started doing all of this streaming, and we had an equally engaged Facebook audience, YouTube audience, and we just wanted to start getting on Twitch, just to kind of keep people who are using all these services engaged with what we do. And so a very good buddy of mine, Rob from the band Psycho Stick, they were doing live stream concerts that were multi-streaming on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. So long story short, I hit him up and I said, how are you doing this? And he's like, well, it's kind of nerdy. I don't know, and I'm like, dude, who are you talking to? Like, give me the deets here. So he bought a little Raspberry Pi, set up his own. A Raspberry Pi is a very tiny, like $40 computer. Set up his own server to restream everything, and he kind of he gave me some of the arcane secrets, as it were, to make that happen. And I took those arcane secrets and I just blabbed them to the entire world. So, on my YouTube, on Lords of the Trident YouTube channel, we've got a series called Words of Fang, where we, break down things for low to mid-tier bands to try to get them out of the garage, so to speak. And that was one of the ones that we recently got picked up by Indie on the Move, and that got broadcasted out to all their subscribers. So I've been getting a lot of questions on it, and it's been real fun.
I watched that one, and I watched the one about starting the shows earlier, so the headliner gets on at 11.
Oh my God!
That's something we talk about here in Pennsylvania a lot as well.
I mean, it's for us, the artists, but it's like more for the people going to the show. Like, nobody wants to stay out until 1 a.m. anymore. And I may be talking like an old man here, but I remember when shows used to be earlier. I tell you.
I know I don't get out nearly as much as I used to, but when I was in my 20s, I would go out and watch a band, and I'd be there from the first opener until the end, like you were talking about. And then I would go and go to Sheets, which I don't know, you probably don't have.
I know Sheets. Yeah.
And everybody would order the same thing every weekend, like it was regimented. But yeah, now I'm in my 40s and no.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I mean, for any artists out there, no matter what genre of music you're playing, I mean, the main goal is to pack the house, and it's real hard to pack the house when you're playing at 1 a.m. It's hard to bring out your friends who have jobs, who live on a regular schedule, or maybe who even work on the weekends, and say like, hey, I'm playing at 12:30, like a.m. You want to come out? And they're like, no, we do not. So yeah, I try to impress this idea to bar owners all the time. It's like, would you rather have 70 people in your bar who are, have 3 drinks each, or would you rather have 220 people in your bar who have maybe 2? It's like, you make more money. You don't have to be, if your main concern is making money, and I get that. If you want to make more money, start those damn shows earlier. I mean, come on. Sell more drinks because there's more people there. You may not be serving as many alcoholics until 2 a.m, but I mean, geez.
All right, so let's get into the line of questioning.
Ah, yes, the line of questioning. Good.
So I was reading the legend on your website.
All true. 100%.
And we don't have to go in quite that detail, but I'm a huge Kiss fan, so like I know that their makeup all symbolizes, part of their persona in real life. And my question for you is, where did your stage personas come from? Like, how did you pick who you were going to be?
I mean, a lot of us we get asked this question a lot, and I think really, when you get down to it, it's more that the mortal personas are more kind of a tuned down version of who we really are inside. So I have chosen Ty Christian as my mortal name, mostly because at the DMV, right, you go in there and Fang von Rathenstein does not fit on the little boxes. It always ends up being like Fang von, and you get that, and so I was like, what is the shortest human name that we can do? And it's Ty. It's 2 letters, Ty. I guess I could have been Al, but
we used to take tests when I was in elementary school called the Iowa Basic Tests. And my name is William Damiano, and both of them always got shortened.
Yeah. So you get it. I do. So I think a lot of people are wondering, is it all an act? Are we sprucing things up? It's like no, Fang is who I am, but sometimes you got to tune that down from 11 to like 6.5. And that's when Ty comes out, people will notice right now that I'm wearing my lounging armor. I'm not wearing the full armor. This is just my old school lounging armor. And that's because, we're down here in the Mohorovic discontinuity, like 11 miles beneath the Earth's crust. Terrible Wi-Fi down here, but we got a fiber line that's going really good now. But I'm safe from assassin attacks down here, so I don't have to wear my full armor all the time. It's fine. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a bonus question later. But all right. So question number 2, after perusing your website, my question is, what are the qualifications that are required to be deemed the most metal band on Earth?
Oh, well, I think there's a couple of things that we can kind of speak to that really cement the fact that we're the most metal band on Earth. We have an wide open challenge out to Manowar. 2 bands, 1 steel cage, 2 bands enter, 1 band leaves. And I mean, this has been up on our website and on our social media for upwards of 12 years at this point, and they have not responded once. They have not sent 1 email of the 40 or 50 emails I send every year. They haven't responded 1 time. You know why? Because they're scared. Because they know that they're not entering, they're not leaving that arena once they enter, right? So there's that. Also, and sometimes, I mean, everybody gets in this situation. And I think during lockdown, it's, there's been a lot of like issues with people kind of ruminating and oh, am I really that good? Or oh, could I really do this? Or and sometimes we get in that kind of funk too, where we'll be out on the road and we're like, man, are we really the most metal band on Earth? Like, I don't know. But I will say there have been a number of situations that have absolutely confirmed the fact that we are the number 1 most metal band on Earth. And I think nothing has confirmed it more than like almost every time we go out on tour, right? So you plan a tour ahead of time. You have a bunch of opening bands. You got a bunch of in every city. You got a couple bands that are opening. Every single tour, without fail, we've had at least 1 band break up right before we play with them. And I'm talking like 3-4 days, right? And they'll email us, like, hey, sorry, our bass player doesn't want to play anymore, so we're just calling it quits. And I'm like, yeah, your bass player doesn't want to play. They're just afraid, Same thing as Manowar. They know that if they're in that same venue, they're like, I could just picture it now. The lead guitarist talking to the other one, being like, well, do you think they'll set us on fire? I don't know, Rick. Maybe they will. Well, maybe we should just call it quits. I don't know. So I mean, that kind of situation. And then also, like, there have been very few, and I don't say this as like having a big head or anything, but there have been very few bands that we have played with that I can honestly say have like we've gone toe to toe with. Usually, I mean, God, usually we'll just mop the floor with the place. I mean, the only, or mop the place with the floor, mop my face on the floor, whatever the saying is. I'll mop my face all over that floor. That's what I'll do. But there's been a couple of bands, only a handful that we've been able to really go toe to toe with, and I felt like, Oh man, they put up a challenge. Unleash the Archers first and foremost. Brittany is amazing. The rest of Andrew is incredible. The rest of the band, Grant's amazing. The whole band is incredible. That night, I really felt like they took us to the mat, and it was a real kind of even match. We played with we opened for Steel Panther for a show, and they were very, very good, very nice. They had personal masseuses down in their green room. I don't know whether they were personal masseuses or personal masseuses, you know what I mean? But yeah, they were also very, very good. And I'm not saying this is I'm the best singer in the whole world, and blah. But it's like when you go around the country and you're constantly fighting bands night after night, and you just don't feel challenged, then you can kind of say, okay, we're clearly the most metal band on earth. That plus the Manowar thing, I think, kind of cements it. Joey DeMaio would answer my emails. Joey, I'm talking to you. Get on the phone. You have my number. You know what my number is.
That's kind of, I keep trying to get a hold of Dave Grohl. I even have a question on my other podcast. It's the Dave Grohl question, but I keep getting ignored.
Yeah. Come on, Dave.
And he does interact with people, so I don't know what his problem is. Other than
you're not providing enough. He's a big barbecue guy, right? So you got to provide some. You have to let him know that you know how to dig a pit and put meat in it, and if you do that, I'm sure he'll answer whatever question you got.
I build websites for barbecue people. Does that work?
Yeah. Well, harness their knowledge and be like, dude, what is the terminology? Do I say mesquite pit? What do I do to tempt Dave Grohl?
So before we get into you talking about your song Death Dealer, I read a little bit, and you mentioned that it's based on the game Diablo.
Yeah. And
so I'm going to tell a little story. Diablo 2, Diablo 3, probably 2 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college, and we would stay up until 6 a.m. playing Diablo. We'd start when classes ended and play until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'd have an 8 a.m. class. And I actually had a professor threaten to kick me out because I couldn't stay awake. So
you darn kids playing your Nintendo tapes all day long. Let me tell you.
So when I saw Diablo, I'm like, yes. I haven't played in a long time, but I got a B in that class in the end.
Hey, but, they say C's get degrees, so B's get beers and degrees. I don't know. The rhyme still works, so I don't. What are you gonna
do? Here's the thing. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade. Teach, computer science K to 8, and then I teach science 4 to 8, and STREAM, which is STEM with some extra letters,
yep.
to 4th through 8th graders. That class, the only one the only methods of teaching course that I did not get an A in, science.
So,
but how was I going to argue it?
Well, yeah, and it's weird because sometimes you'll have people will have strengths in different fields in different ways. I remember Asian Metal and I, just on a whim, we had kind of some downtime. We decided we're going to go back to college to finish up our long standing degrees. We'd gone to a college in I don't know, it was 14 something, or I can't remember exactly. It was way back in the birth of colleges. We never finished. So we ended up going to the University of Wisconsin-Madison together. We roomed together. We had this whole guise of, being mortal and college kids. It was fun, actually. But at the end of it, he and I, since we're both, overachievers at heart, we both triple majored. And I had enough credits in all of the, things to. So I was computer science, Japanese, East Asian studies. Those are my 3 majors. And I wanted, just for kicks, I wanted to get a Bachelor of Arts in computer science and a Bachelor of Science in Japanese. They wouldn't let me. Oh, it was I had to pick one. I'm like, come on. What did I take all those other credits for? Jeez. Come on.
I had enough credits for computer science minor, but I took the courses I wanted, not the ones that they required.
Right.
But I left with the bachelor of science in education and a elementary Spanish minor that I regret to this day because I teach at a Catholic. Yeah.
Por qué?
Because I'm going to answer in English, but I know you asked why. Because every year at the Catholic school that I teach at, that can basically, as long as you have a degree, they can let you teach anything.
Mm-hmm.
Every year they try and get me to teach Spanish, and I don't want
to. Yeah, no, watch out for that.
And every year it gets closer and closer. This year we had a conversation during the school year about whether or not I would do it. And I was like, I'm already teaching all this other stuff.
Yeah, you're just picturing you at the front. La biblioteca es azul. You all get A's. Goodbye.
Blue library. Okay.
Yep. Hey, see, there you go. You're using that minor right there.
It's la boca cerrada no tiene las moscas.
Sorry,
there you go. Oh my gosh, my phone is yelling at me because I'm speaking in Spanish. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Yeah.
All right, so what can you tell us about Death Dealer? You can tell us the story behind it, tell us about recording it, tell us about something that happened on stage while you were playing it. The stage is yours.
Death Dealer is the first song off of our latest album, which we released in 2018 called Shadows from the Past. And that was a song written and brought to us by Baron Torian Helshar, who it's been 5-6 years now, but back earlier then, he was still the youngster in the group, so to speak. I guess our drummer was newer, but anyway, it was one of his kind of like, he had this idea, and he had actually been playing a lot of Diablo at the time, and so that's kind of where the whole theme of that came from. So the lyrics came kind of quickly because I'm also a Diablo fan, although I will admit, really only kind of sinking my teeth into the first Diablo and kind of fallen off after that. Although, the Baron he's played them all. So we wrote that song. It had a really good driving melody. We put that as the first song on the album. People seem to really dig it. The music video was shot in 4 or 5 different locations along a little mini tour we did out to North Carolina and back. The agonizing thing about this music video is that when we did Shadows from the Past, I was all gung-ho about like, okay, we're going to do like 6 or 7 different music videos on this 10-song album. I'm going to shoot them all myself. I'm going to do the, effects all myself. I am going to have something absolutely completely different for every single music video, and something that is like press worthy, like something that a PR guy could make a headline out of, So we did. I think the first song we released was "Burn It Down with Fire" with Brittany Slays from Unleash Your Archers. So there's a callback from earlier, and I used my computer science degree to program to find a way to program inside of JavaScript a way to programmatically turn faces, images, etc. into fire. And to my knowledge, it's the first time that that's been done programmatically inside of After Effects without like manual human tuning, And so that whole music video was more or less kind of shaped by that. Another one I did completely in CGI, and it was my first time ever using CGI, right? Another one we did in 360. So it was like VR compatible. Another one, we actually recreated a Sega CD video game and got it printed and made 4 copies. There's only 4 copies, 4 or 5 copies that exist in the world. And it's like a Night Trap-esque playthrough of that song and a bunch of other music videos. So we did all of these things, right? And they were insanely complex, and I know I have long hair now, but at the time I was pulling my hair out. I currently have COVID hair, so it's all down here. But
that's this.
Yeah, But at the end of the day, the one music video that was the simplest, easiest, took me 30 minutes of editing, and it was done, was Death Dealer, and that's the one that like caught and hit. While all the other ones just kind of languished, and I'm like, but I did so much work, and the only reason that it caught and hit is actually because it was we ended up accidentally going viral on YouTube on a friend's channel where we did this metal bands react to pop video, and the YouTube algorithm somehow reached down its hand and went and blessed it. And all of a sudden, a week later, it's got 1.5 million views on it. And so the part of the Death Dealer music video was the thing that it opened on. And so suddenly there was this big, bunch of people looking for that song, buying that song. It was awesome. But I just thought it was like funny, poetic in a way, the thing that I was just sort of like, yeah, here's a music video. Yeah, here you go. And I mean, not to say that it's a bad music video, but it's like, the amount of effort in creating that music video was like this much, and everything else was like, would have gone through the roof, basically. So that is a funny aspect of Death Dealer. When you go watch the music video, just picture me, like half drunk, just like, yeah, this one now. Okay, yep, there you go. Change cameras. Done.
I am. It's funny. This popped in my head when you were telling that story. Another college story. I took an intro to poetry class. It was an honors course. And it was like 5 minutes before class was supposed to start. And I opened up my notebook and it said, homework, make a visual poem.
Oh.
And I went, oh. And if you're not familiar with the visual poem, basically you use words to make pictures and it has to have some kind of meaning. Well, I used the word technology. I made a monitor, a keyboard, a tower, and a mouse. And in the middle of the keyboard, it says failing humanity. And I titled it Truth, and I was done in 2 minutes. And I ran to class. So at the end of the semester, the final was you were supposed to be working on your rewriting poems and redoing things based on the input you got from the professor.
Yeah.
And then you have a meeting with her and you talk about it. And then she gives you a final grade on that. And then we get done. Everybody in the class has an A. I have a B. But she published that in her textbook.
Wow.
So I spent 2 minutes writing that poem. It's in her textbook.
I hope you have a copy of that textbook. I mean, like, holy cow.
Somewhere I have a Xerox copy of the page. and the index page that has my name on it, which was the coolest part of all of it. Because it says Dickinson Emily, and then on the next line it says Damiano William.
Oh wow! Look, you're a published auteur,
and right under Emily Dickinson.
Yeah, she's overrated anyway. I like that technology piece better.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a moment. We're gonna listen to Death Dealer by Lords of the Trident, and we will be right back with Fang. Those of you that are tuned in live, you don't get to hear the song right now because Facebook does this thing where it mutes us or threatens to delete us. We're not going to deal with that. On the 1st of November, this will go on our website, buildascene.com. It'll also start airing on buildascene.com's radio station and on rootaroораdio.com, which is in San Diego. So you can check it out. Go to buildascene.com/show/3QS, and you can find all the episodes of 3 Questions. Anyway, we're going to pretend like we listened to it. We're going to come back, and I'm also going to do a little more pretending, and I'm going to read the question that Shatterglass had for Lords of the Trident. But when you listen to it in the final version, you'll actually hear J-Rock asking the question. All right, now everybody's up to speed. Hey, that was Death Dealer by Lords of the Trident. With me is Fang. What we're going to do now is last episode's guest, J-Rock from the band Shatterglass, has a question. And his question was basically, what's your writing process? Do you have one person who does all the writing, or is there everybody in the band contribute?
Yeah, so great question. Thank you for that. I've found that, at least for us, and it's different band to band. Some bands really work well jamming with each other, coming up with ideas as a whole band. For us, when we get together, the aspect is more on rehearsal than practice. It's more on preparing than writing. So what I found the best thing to do, and this has kind of been the workflow throughout the entire, multiple eras of Lords of the Trident at this point, in terms of, writers. But usually one of the guitarists will be, noodling 24, 26 hours a day, and they'll come up with something and they'll keep it in their headspace. Then they'll come and bring the other guitarist in, right? And they'll kind of play off of each other and say, oh, okay, what did you think about that? Oh, we should change it to a diminished inverted ninth chord, with a arpeggio pattern. I don't know. I'm a singer. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But so then what they'll do is they'll come up with like a little kind of demo-y structure, and then they will bring it to, possibly the most important person in this whole workflow, the suck filter. And that suck filter is usually either me, or if I helped write the song, it'll be somebody kind of devoid from this whole process, right? The suck filter, his number one most important job is to say, with a very clear mind, whether the idea sucks or it doesn't. And every band needs to have a suck filter, because there are a number of people in the world, and I've had some of them, in the band previously. There's a number of people in the world who just don't have that, right? And that's not really a dig on them. It's just that you have to understand that exists, where they will hear anything and they'll say, we can make an idea out of that. That'll turn out, you have to have someone with a clear idea of where this is going. Does it suck? Does it not suck? Give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. And generally, I'm the suck filter, like I said, unless I'm kind of engaged in the writing process, which does happen from time to time. So once it gets past the suck filter, once we get the thumbs up on everybody, then usually what will happen is I will listen to the music and I'll come up with an idea of like where the lyrics are going to go. And sometimes it'll be as easy as hearing the song and you're like, oh my God. This is street racing in Tokyo at midnight with machine guns. I mean, clearly you can hear it in that riff. It's street racing in Tokyo with machine guns. And then the lyrics will just pour out. Right. So, and I would say like 65% of the time that happens. The other parts of the, we'll kind of pull in everybody else. We'll say like, okay, what is this? Does this song like sound like slaying a dragon? Does it sound like a dystopian future where cyborgs control the cereal supply? I mean, what exactly are you pulling out of this riff, right? And then we'll take ideas from that. I'll take their ideas and I'll write lyrics off of that. Asian metal is really good at this. He'll just be like, well, I really think it kind of feels like when somebody witnesses a crime and they're like too manly to like go to the authorities, but instead they're going to take revenge on their own. Like, I think this is what this song is saying. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. So we'll do that. And then, so we've got this demo, we've got the guitar parts. And then once I have kind of like a scratch track vocal on it, we'll send it out to the rhythm section and they'll add in their 2 cents. Oh, I think it should go this way. I think it should go that way. I think you should shorten this part up, that kind of a thing. So that's kind of how we roll. And that's what works for us. I think generally for most bands, if you have somebody kind of leading who owns the song, who kind of leads the creative charge on it, it's better than kind of having it be open jam. Unless you're a jam band, then that might work for you.
Hey, bonus question time.
All right.
So recently, Dethlehem was on my other podcast.
Yes.
And I know you said that you listened to it. And they said something about ninjas in your band. So my question is, actually, he said ninjas or something I don't know.
Yeah.
If the Lords of the Trident and Dethlehem end up in the same realm, and have to battle it out. How epic will that be, and who ends up victorious in the end?
So I will say we've done this many times before. Dethlehem and I, we first found out about Dethlehem in, oh God, I want to say like 2010 maybe, and instantly we were like issuing each other's death threats, right? And then we were like, we're finishing each other's sentences in the death threats, and we're like, oh my God, did we just become best friends? Like, what's going on here? You know, like you were about to say, you know, sword through the skull, and that's exactly what I was typing. I think we're brothers from different mothers, right? So we've actually had them into our realm a few times, and oh my God, it has always been a bloodbath. There's a couple of venues that no longer exist because we had the show there. I remember the last time that they came here, we spent all day taking them out, you know, buttering them up, you know, getting them drunk, like kind of like, ah, ha, 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 you know, and you got to play the show tonight, right? You're doing the old switcheroo. And then we took them to the show, and it was a Monday night, and it, you know, because they were doing like a whole tour thing. And the place was just like absolutely just packed. It was just a sea of faces. And they were not expecting that. And then more than the whole, you know, Wisconsin nice, more than getting them drunk, I think the fact that so many people came out to see this battle on a Monday night kind of threw them off guard, because they were like, this is awesome. We hate these guys, but I guess they're cool because of all these people. Yeah, you know, and so, you know, we ended up I think that night on stage we ended up kind of pledging our swords, you know, to each other's quests, becoming battle brothers, as it were. And you know, honestly, Overlord Brahm and I have been just chatting it up like nuts. We're both you know, geeks, and we love camera stuff and making videos and things like that. So we've been chatting it up. And, you know, I've been trying to get them out on the road again and again and again. But they're always like, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. Tasteful's all, he's got to make, Tasteful is, God, that's, Bovice. We always call him Tasteful because of his solos. We've never really called him by his real name. We're like, yo, Tasteful, get over here. Come on, what are you doing?
He told me that if he had a job in this realm, he would be a janitor.
Yeah, that checks out. He'd be like this with, and like a mop in the other hand, you know. But yeah, so we're trying to get him back on the road. We had actually planned to come and visit them and do battle in Pittsburgh. You know, I want to say like late 2019. We had been in talks about it, but then this whole thing hit, and so now it's kind of been, well, you know, we'll do it when we can do it. And I honestly, I feel like I'm glad that the new album is out for them, because it is easily their best work so far. But B, I feel terrible for any bands that were like releasing an album early 2020. You know, like Unleash Your Archers comes to mind, Judicator comes to mind. I mean, even Dethlehem, although they pivoted really well, man, you know, you have all that momentum behind this album release, and what do you want to do with it? You want to, like, most bands just want to kind of like get on the road, you know, and go and play it, right? And a lot of these bands are going to have to wait a year, maybe two, depending on where you're at, to get on the road and play this material. And that is, I mean, that might as well be 40 years in the span of the internet, basically. So I feel really bad for bands that are like dropping stuff that they could be touring on right now.
Did you see their video for Escape from Wolf Mountain?
Not only, I will have you know, sir, that
before we go into this, we have to keep this PG-13.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not only did I see their video to Escape from Wolf Mountain, but we were actually the first people in the entire world to see the video. We saw it before anybody else did, because we ended up filming a reaction video to it that dropped the very next day. So we had this whole thing planned with them that, you know, they'd pop their video out and then we'd do the reaction video the very next day. So I got to see it way before anybody else. And I was just sitting here like, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. It's really good. Don't spoil it. You know, but holy cow, so good. So amazing. They were, absolutely incredible. Right. The fact that it took them 3 years to make, it's like, you know.
Well, it started playing, and I don't know how old you are, but they look like He-Man action figures.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
And we're all just sitting here. I mean, everybody should go. So go to our channel, youtube.com/Swords of the Trident. Watch the reaction video. It's fun. The whole time we're like, oh my god, like damn, they're all ripped as action figures. Like, oh man, look at that. You know, good on them. They must have been hitting the gym.
All right, so what I need from you is a couple more things. First, I need you to tell the listeners where they can find you online, find your music, find you on social media. We'll go with that first.
Oh, okay. Right now. All right.
Yep.
All right. So if you are interested in seeing more Lords of the Trident, and let's be honest, you are. Come on. Take your most metal browser to our main hub, lordsoftheTrident.com. And in your most metal browser, like, let's be honest, is probably Chrome. Yeah, it's right down there. Right down over there.
Yeah.
Your most metal browser is probably Chrome because like there's no other browser named after a metal. So I mean, just there you go. Take your Chrome browser, go to lordsoftheTrident.com. Make sure you put on.
Although Microsoft is named Edge.
Yeah, but
Edge of the Sword. Yeah, I don't use it either. But
yeah. Make sure you're wearing appropriate levels of armor before you hit play on anything, just because we've had a lot of people, with melted faces. By the way, we also have referrals to really good plastic surgeons for after listening to the album. Hit us up, if you can still type, if your fingers are still working. But lordsoftheTrident.com is your main hub for stuff. We also have a very, very, very active YouTube channel, very active YouTube community. YouTube.com/Lords of the Trident. We've been releasing a video every week since COVID hit. So we have something brand new out every single week. Some of them are song covers, some of them are playthroughs. We've been doing 7 live streams every month of all sorts of different stuff. We do Baron's solo shred sessions where he does solo shred guitar. We do video game playthroughs. In fact, after this, I'm going right over to my Twitch channel to start up my video game playthrough tonight. And we do full concerts. We've been doing a bunch of full concerts for people, and that's been super fun. So yeah, check it out. YouTube.com/Swords of the Trident. I will also say that we are the #1 most supported independent metal band on Patreon. We are #1. So if you go to lordsoftheTrident.com and you're like, this is pretty cool. I love these guys. That lead singer is super handsome. I want to send him a letter and some of my hair, but I don't know what to do. And I think that'd be weird if I'm not like directly supporting them. Well, let me tell you, you can send your hair as long as you jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. Like I say, and we're the #1 most supported independent metal band on there for a good reason. We drop something new on Patreon almost all the time. We have about a month and a half worth of like backlog of stuff that Patreon backers have like already seen that the general public hasn't. We've got we send out exclusive t-shirts for free on the Patreon. We actually have an album that is going to be dropping by probably in a month. So anybody who's signed up at the $5 level or above is going to get that album too. We're going to ship it out to them. We do a ton of stuff on the Patreon. So check that out. I think every band should have a Patreon. It's been an absolute godsend for us. I will say, Lords of the Trident would have broken up if not for our Patreon, because we spent so much money over touring Europe and pillaging because of many different factors, which, let's not get into those. But, we came back with like a pretty hefty bill. And if we didn't have the support of our backers, if we were just hoping on like t-shirt sales, like get us through this hefty bill, we'd be at each other's throats, literally with like knives and swords and axes trying to figure out when our next credit card payment's going to be due. So thankfully we had the Patreon support and we were able to stay together as a band. So yeah, check that out. lordsofthetrident.com, youtube.com/Lords of the Trident, patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. We're also on Twitter. We're on MySpace. We're on Reverb Nation. We're on Twitch. We're on RedTube, redtube.com/Lords of the Trident. It's more of like a personal channel for me. And if you don't get that joke, ask your girlfriend.
For the record, when you go to the show notes for this episode, I have a lot of those linked.
Yeah.
So you don't have to memorize them. I don't have all of them. I have a lot of them.
I mean, really, you could put Lords of the Trident into Google, and it's us the first 50 pages, and then it starts to get really weird. So,
all right, last thing I need from you tonight. I gave you some homework.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go check out Scarlet. What is the question you have for Scarlet?
Okay, Scarlet. This is Fang von Rathenstein, lead singer of the most metal band on earth, the Lords of the Trident. And I want to know, what are you doing in this time of COVID, in this time of lockdown, to interact with your fans, to keep them abreast of all of your new, amazing, fantastic material? And what do you think other bands should be doing that they're not currently doing in this time of lockdown?
That's actually a pretty well thought out question. I like it. So to give you an idea of, not that you asked me, but this whole video thing, this didn't exist before March. It was all only audio, and COVID happened, and I found myself at home teaching from my kitchen with a lot more time on my hands, and I was like, I have a camera.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, it's a good pivot, and StreamYard's fun. I've used StreamYard a lot, and yeah, it's great to see people's faces and just to track hair growth over the months. You know, that's another really fun thing about releasing a video every week on our YouTube channel, is I could just go back a month and I'll be like, oh God, I look like Justin Bieber. Oh my God, you know.
I am in class the other day. One of the students, it was her birthday, and she had cookies. And I took my mask off for a second to eat a cookie. And one of the 7th graders went, "Whoa, you look so much different." But anyway, so this has been episode number 44 of 3 Questions and a Song. Check us out on the 1st and 15th of each month at buildascene.com. Check out the Pennsylvania Rock Show at parockshow.com or buildascene.com every Friday. That one comes out. And the radio station is 24/7. You can hear the Lords of the Trident on there. So make sure you go and make some requests. My name is Bill. That's Fang. And we will check you out next week.
Good night.
Next episode.
Next episode. Good night.